Life can be overwhelming, but help is here. Gulfport Behavioral Health System is your treatment provider for mental and behavioral health issues. For nearly 40 years, we've helped adults, adolescents, and children as young as 4 find the coping skills to get back on track. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hope starts here. Visit gulfportbehavioral.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
I have to take everybody's.
Right.
Your questions in there, and I can. Oh, yay!
Yeah, let's see if we're back now. Let's totally see if we're back. I don't know how long we're going to be back.
I mean, I hear you.
Well, hey, we're just in time for a commercial break. Well, hey, it happened. You know what? I'll just shut that off. We only got you till the top of the hour, so we'll just run with it here. And thank you for covering my butt.
We were having fun in the chat. We were just hanging out, but we're super happy to have you back.
Well, I'm glad to be back too. I don't know what happened. I looked at. I quickly went online with my internet server, and there was an outage about 2 hours south of me at head office there. So I'm assuming that affected us, obviously, and got to run and make things good again. So we'll skip the commercial here, and I'll just find another show that we're going to have to download to send to the radio station. But I am going to have to make it up to you, so we're going to have to rebook you.
Oh, well, that's no problem. I would love to come back on again. That would be a blast. So, be my pleasure.
Look at that. Chad say, Jane kicked ass running SOR. Jane's guest tonight.
Well, hey, I couldn't have done it without you guys, so.
Yeah, I'm just a little pissed off because we were right in the middle of a real good conversation, and I had a...
You're the same for the big phone home. I had internet, and I don't normally have, that's the thing. It's like, don't ever have internet issues, so... when it just all fails, during it. But yeah, I had that for the big phone home at the start of the interview with Lori Ruffelt, which, she's a former U.S. Air Force. And so I was super excited to talk to her, but it came back, thankfully. But that's always when it happens.
Yeah, no kidding. No, Dale, the affiliate feeds didn't drop. I'll have to send them another show, though, because I can't send them off copies like this. That kind of sucks, but that's okay. That's okay.
Bummer.
That's okay. Well, that kind of screwed me up for the night. What do you want to talk about? Let's chat. Let's talk some UFOs. I have you booked for another 30 minutes
about? Here. Yeah. Let's see. What's a good one? any requests.
Yeah, put some questions up in the chat room, and we will.
I saw somebody asked about. Well, they used some interesting terminology. They didn't say they said the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Yeah, so the internet. So remember that astronomer, or not astronomer, the security chief, former security chief of Israel.
Yeah, Haim Shed.
Intergalactic Federation. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to, right?
The Galactic Federation that Haim
Well,
Shed
I do have thoughts on that.
Yeah, what are they?
So Star Trek. So I am trying to get into Star Trek. We're a Star Wars house, so sorry if there's any Trekkies in the room. I'm trying to get into it because I think there's a lot that we can learn from Star Trek, because Gene Roddenberry, the creator of it, is just so fascinating. So he had a military background, and he was a plane crash investigator, actually. I guess when he was a plane crash investigator in the 40s. So right around Roswell time, right? And so back to the Intergalactic Federation question. So apparently, his whole idea of Star Trek, though, came from doing a seance, and he claims that he was just channeling actual beings, and that's the whole idea of Star Trek. And what's really wild, I wish I had them right here, is I have these supposedly leaked files, not official. Take down all, and then
I don't know how long this is going to last, so just continue
on.
I
think you're just having one of those days.
You're doing a great job filling in for me. All we need to do is pull my mustache and beard off and put it onto you, and nobody will be able to tell the difference.
Well, it's just when the Wi-Fi cuts out, it takes a second before you leave. You're just kind of, it just looks like you're really interested in what I'm saying. So it works.
Oh, good.
But yeah, we're just kind of keep going down different little paths. I was just talking about how I love. Yeah.
Are you an experiencer or no?
So I feel like sometimes people are disappointed, when I say, that I'm not an experiencer. I really haven't seen anything. Yeah, I really am not. So I saw a UFO maybe one time after I was a full-on researcher. So I had the website and everything, and it was a fireworks night. So my memory is so bad with this. I don't remember if it was hot or cold outside, if it was like a New Year's or a 4th of July. It was fireworks. And I look up and I see the very stereotypical triangle UFO that I've been reporting on for years. That's probably been the most persistent and well-documented type of sighting. And I'm seeing it right there, 3 lights. They look to be connected, silent, hovering. But even though I had a website and I was a UFO researcher, I didn't take a picture of it. I didn't take a video of it. I didn't write an article about it, make a YouTube video or anything. I just wondered about it and then just kept trying to debunk it. It was probably a drone. That's my best guess. It's probably a drone. So I think of how many people do that kind of thing where they don't tell anybody about what they saw, and they just, your natural, at least my natural instinct was just to explain it. It wasn't to get carried away and say aliens are invading. It was well, I must have been seeing something wrong. Questioning my own judgment, I guess,
Do you wish, as a UFO experience or as a UFO researcher, that you could have an experience just to kind of put it out of your, because we're all skeptical in our own way, but just to kind of take that skepticism, put it to the side, and experience what others are going through?
Yes, but I also feel that it's been a good thing that I haven't had, or at least don't remember. I kind of get creeped out thinking that, like, oh, what if I've had an experience and I don't remember, right? Because that's what we learn from a lot of these, encounters. I think it's a good thing because it's helped me to be objective and unbiased and not get too attached to any theories. I think if I did have some really vivid experience with a specific type of ET, especially one that communicated with me and said they were from Zeta Reticuli or whatever, it would be really hard for me to be biased and just not assume always that theory when researching. So I think it's been a blessing. And I'm also kind of a chicken when it comes to things like CE5. And I guess it's just, I think if there's a really intelligent, advanced species out there that like has the ability to consciously connect with me and abduct me, that makes me a little nervous. And I don't really want to seek that out. And so, I think the CE5 stuff's actually really cool, though. And we're going to learn some great stuff from it. And maybe I would do something like with the group. That felt, safer, that was, really visible. But yeah, so I think, I'm a little bit strange in that sense.
Okay. So the fact that, you're a woman in ufology, you've been, women in general in ufology have been struggling for years for credibility. We see it built up and going from there. And speaking of CE5, recently Demi Lovato has come in, and started her own UFO show, which, you look at it, she has combined on Instagram and Twitter over 108 million subscribers and followers.
Yeah.
And I'm still on the fence with that, because I think it does great to have her in ufology, but as a lead investigator, someone who is investigating UFOs the way a researcher would or a journalist would, I don't know if that gives the subject the credibility it deserves. Not trying to take anything away from Demi Lovato, but I'm curious your standpoint on something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get UFO Twitter's reaction because there was a lot of comments I guess that were put out there when that was announced. And so I get that. Look, but I like watching Ancient Aliens. I like watching Skinwalker Ranch. People are gonna hate me when they hear this, but I watch The Bachelor, so I like watching entertaining things, and I'm able to separate it out and not get too passionate about it. But that said, this is a real topic, right? And we are making progress with disclosure, so that would be a shame if for some reason Demi Lovato's show was something only to make fun of it. But I don't think it's going to make us take any steps backward. I think it's just going to bring more people into it, more of the youth into it, which is only going to be a good thing. And I will say, my friends, Emmett and Joe, really good researchers, UFO bros. So, they actually have gone out to Roswell multiple times, to Area 51. They do like actual field work. On September 30th, I think, I need to figure out the details, but I think they're going to do something with Demi Lovato. They did some kind of investigation with her. So those are two guys right from this, community. Oh no, we're losing Dave again. UFO Bros. No, you guys can go follow them on Instagram. They have a podcast, but they're right from this community, and they're influencing the influencer, right? So that's kind of all we can do, is try to influence these bigger people, right? Because they are going to take the limelight. No, people are going to listen to Demi Lovato before they listen to us. That's just the reality.
All right. Baista Mikey, how about Dave's view on UFO Jane's taking part in recent UFO documentary? Which documentary were you on?
Yeah. So I finally ended up on, I almost ended up on TV, which is so funny. I've been a little bit in TV. But I finally ended up kind of on a UFO show, but it's in the app. So the Discovery Channel app, you have to look for it there. But it's called Roswell, The Final Verdict. It was so fun to research ahead of that documentary. Basically revisiting all the witness accounts from Roswell. So you can watch that doc, not just for me, but for some other.
Attend your next potluck in style with the September Gift of the Month at Pearl River Resort and Casinos. Visit Thursday through Sunday from September 2nd through September 26th to win an on-the-go bake and take food storage set from celebrity chef Robert Irvine. Just earn 250 base points each week to receive your gift while supplies last. Gifts include glass serving dishes, utensils, and matching carrying cases with each item. This September only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos, Pearl River Resort Properties. Must be 21.
The WhatsApp Business API was created for businesses to enable one-to-one interactions at scale on the preferred global messaging app. Using the WhatsApp Business API, airlines are guiding passengers from purchase to boarding. E-commerce platforms are sending alerts when out-of-stock items are available. And many more businesses are finding innovative use cases with the WhatsApp Business API. Learn more at gettheapi.com/tintech. That's gettheapi.com/TYNTEC.
Voices too. You can watch that documentary just for a summary of the witness accounts. There is a really fun added layer though, which I am not an expert on how this technology or how they did it or how great it is or not, but they ran all the audio and video witness testimony, even from those who've since passed, through this AI technology, like lie detector. And so you'll find out, how different witnesses, if they, were caught lying or not. And there's some really surprising stuff in there. And so all my reactions are totally real. They just kind of told me right there, oh, this person, we found them to be lying or telling the truth. And so, yeah, I think it was really well done. Yeah.
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm sorry, my audio. I'm having a little bit of audio issues with everything here and trying to get everything. This has just gone to all hell in a handbasket. We're lucky to have a show right now, but I'm sure everyone will understand when they're watching this. I can just see the complaints, the thumbs down going on YouTube.
It's live.
It's what happens. It's what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what we do. But, I think it's great to see a lot of new...
Scrambling or internet.
There I am. Oh. There I am, I think. My God. I'm giving a fist shaking to my internet company because this literally never happens.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, but...
yeah, maybe...
Now, what was I saying beforehand? Oh, in regards to documentaries. For so long, and if you want to test it, go check out a lot of the older documentaries on Amazon or on Netflix. It is the same people, the same 12 people on every documentary saying the exact same thing with just different titles. And it got to the point where I couldn't even watch them anymore. It doesn't matter whether it was somebody, who I respect like Stanton Friedman or somebody else out there. And it just drove me nuts. So I think it's great that we are getting a little bit of new, fresh faces on television and in these documentaries that are out there. My only dream on it, though, and I'm not jealous of anybody who works it, but my only dream, though, is that these television companies would actually do their research on the people. We have a lot of fake journalists in this field. We have a number of fake scientists in this field. There are no experts. I saw one person recently who's literally been a name in ufology for about 6 months, call themselves a UFO expert as they got a television show. And that's what drives me nuts, and I think it hurts the credibility of people such as you, who's been in this almost 10 years, me, who has almost been in this for coming up 7 years, and a lot of people who have worked their asses off for that opportunity to really bring out their information, and they're not getting that chance. And I don't like that. That's the one thing I wish, you can't stop somebody from saying, no, hey, whoa, I'm not going to do that. You can't stop somebody from doing that, but I think they need to be a real they need to do their homework, shall we say, on the people.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a, the Demi Lovato thing, it's a pop culture thing now, so it feels like, it's kind of like the shiny thing that gets you clicks and stuff now. So it's definitely going to continue to go in that route. I would say, to add to that in kind of a darker way, I do kind of know how Google and search works because I have a background in it. So I have a little bit of expertise going into this. But if you're going to talk about kind of like the flip-flop of who's been doing this for a long time and who's new to the field, and kind of the newer folks maybe getting more voice, if we're going to talk about censorship a little bit, if you've been doing this a while, you might have some legacy of censorship and things. I am banned from different subreddits. On
Danger
Google,
girl.
if you want to go, and that's not necessarily censorship. I'm just saying it's kind of this you have a history. Like, I have a history. That's all I'm saying. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but on Google, though, if it used to be that if you were to go and search Texas UFOs, my website would come up, or Texas, our website, community's website. The witnesses, the Texas UFO sightings website would come up, especially if you were looking for a specific case, and I was the only one that covered it. And now what's happened is you can still find it on Google. I've said before it's de-indexed, so that's technically not true. You can find it. But essentially what Google did was it decided, nope, you're not going to show up anymore when people want to find out about Texas UFOs. So right, when disclosure's happening, right when the government's like, yeah, UFOs are real. So now it shows up are, CNN or these media outlets that usually won't even have an article about that topic. But because I can't show up on page one now, and I've been, one of the, if not the source for Texas UFO reports, you're just not going to be able to find it on Google. And so if you're new to this and you weren't following me all along, and you live in Texas and you go look up UFOs in your area, and if I've covered it, you're not going to find out about it on Google. It's just not going to show up. So you have to have already known who I was. So there's definitely kind of, no good deed goes unpunished of just having done this for a little while and maybe pissed off or, a certain amount of people or, power control centers a little bit. And I write fun headlines and stuff like that. So maybe there was some, this is a spammy site, kind of red flag. But ultimately, I always have theories. I always follow up. I'm just documenting cases. And it's actually the CNN and these other sites that show up. Those are the ones that actually are showing the hoax videos and not doing any journalism, right? And just writing just wrong headlines, right?
You know what, though? Journalist to journalist, because you're a journalist, I'm a journalist, okay? And this goes back to the whole TTSA argument that I had. You know as well as I do, if you've ever worked in a newsroom, that a newsroom has never wanted to cover this subject, ever. They don't believe in it. They still don't want to cover it. All right. Now, that doesn't say that all outlets are like that. We are growing, which is a good thing. And there are people out there who are taking this subject a little bit more seriously than the end story of a 6 o'clock Saturday night newscast with the laugh and giggle and the X-Files theme song. And I'm glad we're beyond those days. However, I think one of the issues that we have is when the TTSA rolled out their media plan, they said, we got you Fravor, the pilot. We got you Elizondo, the guy who ran the program. We got you Chris Mellon, who worked closely in the DIA and close to presidents on this subject. We got you a senator and former Senator Harry Reid. We've given you the ammunition you need to cover this story. And it was like all of a sudden, when the media jumped in on this topic, they no longer felt the need to go look for the other opinions. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They didn't do their counterbalance. There was no Stanton Friedman or Linda Moulton Howe or even members of the SCU or MUFON that were being included in this conversation. And that was a detriment to everybody trying to learn about this subject. You know, and that was one of my beefs with the TTSA, is that they were controlling a media narrative here on a media that was, you know, very suspect in even wanting to cover this topic.
Yeah, and what a topic, what a narrative to have any control over. I mean, it's the most important narrative. It's the billion gazillion dollar question, right? So it's really important who is controlling the narrative, and that those people. I mean, I am not for trolling and hate online, and you know, I gave that whole lecture about, you know, UFO Twitter can be a positive place, you know, but I do think people's feet have to be held to the fire. And here's the thing. I feel that people should be entirely skeptical of what I'm saying too. And I mean, haven't all the UFO people gotten crap for years? Why should, you know, no offense to Lou Elizondo or, you know, this new wave, right, of ufologists, why should they not get crap? Shouldn't we all be getting crap, right? And be accountable, right? And
exactly.
Have to follow up, right? Like have to follow through with their claims, because they're really it's even though I'm not in the government, right? And I'm just, you know, a YouTuber. If I say that aliens could be real and are visiting, that's a really huge claim to make, you know, and that's gonna really that could really affect somebody, and you know how they view the world, and so that's really powerful to say that. So I really have a hunch that that's true. You know, I wouldn't say that if I didn't think it could be true. And yeah, it goes back to that trust conversation. Whereas I don't think it's as simple as, well, they're in the military, so they're trustworthy, or they saw an alien, so they're the best source of information about aliens. I don't. It really is more just a human to human. You know, there's going to be some witnesses who are maybe getting carried away and do want attention, and some that are telling the truth. And also, and back to the trust thing, to kind of circle back to what we were talking about earlier, the old and new UFO guard, right? There's all this trust in folks like Lou Elizondo and stuff, but when you bring up some of the historic military testimony, especially like deathbed confessions, that testimony is just written off as not credible. Oh, they didn't know what they were seeing. They didn't. And so I don't understand why we're like, we trust what all the pilots are saying today, and how dare us be suspicious of military testimony today, but we're going to throw out all the historic military testimony, like from Roswell and Post, and just say all those people were lying. So it's not as simple as, yeah, military testimony is trustworthy. It really clearly is not.
We only have you for a couple more minutes here, and I want to just say I wholeheartedly apologize about the technical issues here, and I think you're absolutely wonderful. I'm just absolutely smitten with our conversation, and I would like to invite you back to do a proper interview with us, because I do want to get you out there. I do want to make it go, so I'll get my team to reschedule you probably if you're free in
Yeah, let's
October
do
or
that.
November, and we'll get you for
Yeah.
we'll arrange it where we could get you for the full 2.5 hours. And,
Yeah. I
But,
love that.
but I really appreciate you coming back on. I want to get to a couple more questions before we let you go.
Mm-hmm.
And this one from Tony: would either of you guys interview Mick West or Neil deGrasse Tyson? You know,
I have interviewed Mick West. So you can watch the video on my channel, search UFO Jane on YouTube. And I did it. I think people wanted me to kind of like go at him, and I didn't so much talk about so much UFO evidence. I really tried to get more into the psychology, behind it all. So, what about you? Would you interview either of those folks?
I would go at Mick West. I would go journalist to journalist with him. Because I think as a journalist, I think he has put himself in the story, which is not the job of a journalist to do. I mean, being skeptical is one thing, but he's really injected himself into the anti-UFO guy. And I don't think that's very credible and very unbiased the way our career is supposed to be. I would love to interview him. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the only question that I really want to ask him is in regards to this topic is basically science. And I'm not a scientist, but when you break down science to its basic common denominator, it is the proof or disproof of theory. And for him to claim...
Are you a digital marketer or the owner of a small business? Are you looking for more ways to reach new customers? Well, why not create your own audio ad? Like this one you're listening to right now with Audio Go. With access to a professional studio and tons of audience targeting options to choose from, making ad campaigns on top music, podcast, and radio apps has never been this simple. Learn more by tapping your screen or by visiting us at audiogo.com.
Life gets a lot more magical when you dream. So let's dream of a vacation unlike any other. A magical Disney cruise.
Hiya, pal!
Where new stories meet tales as old as time.
Enchanté, mon ami!
And your family will be cared for the moment you step aboard. Sail from Florida to Disney's private island paradise and get ready for a dream come true with Disney Cruise Line.
That all of these theories about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and everything are either non-existent or are not visiting here without studying the subject, I think is pure arrogance. And I would love for him to answer that question. Put your education on the line and answer the question for the people, because science is about proving or disproving theory. It is not about subjecting your opinion. And that's what we see. We're not conducting science when it comes to UFOs. We're conducting a lot of opinion. And I don't think that's proper, and he needs to be asked about that. So, yes, I would.
Yeah, he's super contradictory with, he likes to talk about the vast cosmos, but then, like, UFOs are so hard to comprehend. I would like to ask him if he's ever, and probably somebody has, like, signed an NDA or anything with the government, like, related to UFOs. But I'd like to ask him just one-on-one, just so I could, like, watch his body language. Because he just very much feels one of those people that, it's like, those commentator scientists, that's just kind of there to, like, reflect society. So I'd be curious. Him and Bill Nye are the two that I'd be curious to see if they've ever signed anything related to UFO knowledge. But again, that's my tinfoil hat. I should go grab it.
That's all right. I got one in here too. I got a folder. Yeah. If you look right there, hold on, where is it here? Right there. That's a whole roll of tinfoil right there, just in case.
Yeah, you gotta have it handy. Just in case.
All right, Jane, we're going to let you go. And once again, I wholeheartedly apologize for our technical issues. I've already emailed, I've already messaged our booking crew to get back a hold of you, to get you set on a date for a full interview next time. And I just love talking with you. You're a lot of fun. You're very knowledgeable. and I think we'll be able to hit it out of the park the next time. And so, thank you for covering my ass here when the tech stuff happened. But
yeah, well, hey, we were just hanging out, having a little party, and I maybe Glurp the alien can make an appearance next time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Ozzy Steve, for the super chat. Coming up next, guys, we're gonna say goodnight to UFO Jane here. And coming up next, we're going to continue on because, this is a 3-hour show and there's a lot of people who want to see this. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in Stetson, or make that Fedora John, to come on in here. There he is. And we're going to continue on. Jane, thank you so much. Much love to you. And have just a great week. And my team will get a hold of you soon, okay?
Yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys were a lot of fun. Had a blast.
All right. Take care, Jane.
See you guys next time.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye. I like her. She is so nice.
Oh, yeah.
She is so nice.
Yeah, she's super nice, and she has a nice balance between the past and the present too.
Yeah, and you know what? That kind of, I'm not going to lie, that shocked me. That pleasantly shocked me on a couple of things. Number one, I always kind of parsed her with the UFO Twitter crowd.
I did too. I totally did too.
And listening to her tonight talk about the fact that this isn't about UFO Twitter. There's a lot of stories we need to dig into. We cannot, and I like the part where she said, I'm not going to let these stories go. And
yeah, no. I mean, there's a couple of times where I expected you to go, woohoo!
Yeah, no, trust me. Inside I was, till my gosh darn internet went down. I don't know what happened, but both my I have 2 internet feeds in my
good for you.
Yeah, one runs one computer, the other internet feed runs the other computer. Both went down. So nothing I can do. The good news is, and here's the good news, while we're chatting, I'm actually editing up a previous show to send to the radio stations. So that way I'm not going to be here until all hours of the night and getting this show ready. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty stoked about that. And
you're going to get a good night's sleep for once.
I doubt that, but, one can always hope. One can always hope.
But she did a magnificent job keeping things going when you got cut out. I mean, she did not miss a beat. She just trucked right on. It was really cool. She was very professional.
Well, I mean, that's, those journalistic instincts kicked in.
I know.
And, there's one thing about the journalistic instinct, guys, that I always try to remind people, and that is when they kick in, it really is about all of a sudden going pro. Like all of a sudden that professionalism comes in, and I really appreciate that about her. I really do appreciate her doing that, and you could see it pop right in because she didn't miss a beat. She did not.
No, and the other thing too is that was interesting was that you brought it out of her more than some of the other interviews she did, because in a lot of cases she's interviewing people or being interviewed by people that aren't journalists, right? And so it does tend to be a little more off the cuff casual, right? And you could, I mean, she like, I mean, in my opinion, this is the best interview I've ever heard her do. Like she rocked it. Like it was cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really liked her. I really want to speak with her. She's somebody whom I would love to add as a participant every now and again to our round table.
Oh yeah,
I could totally see that working, and that would make me feel really good. And it's like our round table this week. I mean, we got Walter Bosley coming on. Super Quest from our chat room is going to come on. I gotta check.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to mix it up a little bit more so our audience doesn't have the same people, the same with the same opinions. Andrew, I fully agree with you. Andrew, in the chat room here, I fully agree with you that she definitely needs to come back. Felt very comfortable with her. Very comfortable. It was nice.
Yeah, totally agreed. Totally agreed. And yeah, and I was impressed. One of the things that really stuck out to me, like you said a minute ago, was what she said about the fact that she's like, I'm not going to forget Roswell. And it wasn't just that she said it; it was the emotion in her voice.
Yes.
Like she meant it, and it was personal. Like it was like, I'm not going to forget. It's like wow, like, excellent. Like I mean, I was like, it was great to hear. Because it's been funny for me because while I was very interested in this as a kid, I pretty much gave up on this whole topic until about 2015. 2016 was really when I got back into it again, right before everything broke. And so I had trouble letting go of my emotions about Bob Lazar, which I finally did. But I didn't have any emotional attachment to any other stories. And so it's been very interesting for me coming into this, not being like a really young person, but, being, close to the same age as some other people and seeing the intense emotions in some people and being really kind of taken off guard by it. Like, wow, like you weren't even there. Like, why are you so wound up about this,
Mm-hmm.
But, some of that emotion's good,
I got a question for you, and I asked her this question, and I'll ask you the same thing. Why do you think that so many people in this field recently, and I'm not saying about, skeptics versus debunkers, but we see a lot of people getting mad. Mad about Lou Elizondo wanting to get a book deal. Mad about Jeremy Corbell's videos. Mad about people like Mick West. Mad about people who ask tough questions or that generate a little bit of, I don't want to use the word controversy, but use a little bit of level-headed thinking in these topics. Why do we get so mad, John?
Well, so I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this. But what it fundamentally comes down to is ego, and not in the way that I think most people would expect. And it was funny. I just had a conversation with someone about this week, where he was complaining about the vitriol and the venom that he was seeing, and I wrote to him and I responded to him on Twitter and said, it's really funny because I know you see that, and I'm not saying you don't, but I find it very curious that I don't see that. I had someone call me an a-hole the other day, which I was awesome. I screenshotted it because I think that's the first time anyone's called me that in my whole life. But it's like, it's so rare that I hear that, right?
Hold on a second. How does anybody call you an a-hole? You're like one of the nicest dudes out there. And my internet may have froze again.
There, buddy. Are you back?
I'm back.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by it too, but I have to admit, I looking back at what I said to him, I was buttons a little more than I was, because I will try to make light of topics, and a lot of times people think it's because I'm making light of them, and I'm usually more careful of that. And so, some of his anger toward me might have been a little bit justified, but for the most part, I don't see stuff like that, right? And so I asked this friend of mine, I said, why do you think that you see it and I don't? And he gave me a very, and this was all public, this wasn't in a side chat. He gave me a very honest response. He said, you don't come off with that kind of demeanor. Like you don't have that kind of energy. I mean, basically what he said. And he said to himself, he said about himself, he said, I used to be able to play this very calm. And he goes, I just hit a breaking point. And he said, I can't handle it anymore. I can't handle all the rah-rah. I can't handle all the praying to the UFO gods. I can't take it anymore. I can't hold my tongue anymore. And what I realized was that, even for people that try really hard, a lot of people can't help but set expectations. They believe that at a certain point something will happen, or a certain point something will change. And if it doesn't, they start getting angry, and fundamentally they're angry at themselves for being disappointed, but they want to lash out to others, right? And so, and let's face it, a lot of people, especially now, are really perplexed because they thought that UFO report that came out was going to be some breaking point, right? That it was going to be this big water slide that happened, right? And it's had an impact, but it did nothing like what a lot of people hoped, and they're mad. And the problem is and this is unfortunately an American culture thing. We have this concept that you must suffer for reward. And so we're all willing to put up with things we hate because we think there's some payoff at the end. And the truth is that's the wrong way to live life, because what happens is you spend most of your life miserable because you're always waiting for something good to happen. And two, you don't have any control over whether that good thing actually happens or not. And when it doesn't happen, you're mad because you just spent 6 months or 2 years upset, thinking I'll put up with this because I'm going to get a payout at the end, right? And a lot of people did, and they didn't get their payout, and so they're mad, and they hold people responsible. They think that if people hadn't propped up Tom DeLonge, that maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. If people hadn't, put Elizondo on a pedestal, we wouldn't be in this situation. Other people are thinking, well, if you had supported them more, we wouldn't be in this situation. And so everyone's trying to find blame games for why this isn't like a black and white thing. And as you and I have talked about, disclosure is a process. It's not a landing place. It's not a destination. It's a stage. It's a period of time, and we're in it. And it may not be as coming as far along as you want it to be, but this is it. We are in disclosure. Now, it might be at the very beginning of it,
right?
But but we're in it, right? And it sucks,
It does suck. And it just seems that it's getting more and more as the government has gone silent, as Lou went silent, as Sean Cahill went silent, and everybody kind of went silent on this topic for a while. That really seemed to spike in a lot of the anger that we were seeing, and that's beside Mick West or Neil deGrasse Tyson, or any of the podcast hosts out there who feel it necessary to go a little bit above and beyond the criticism level of people in this field. I think it really, really shows that, how passionate people are about this.
Life gets a lot more magical when you dream. So let's dream of a vacation unlike any other. A magical Disney cruise.
Hiya, pal!
Where new stories meet tales as old as time.
Enchanté, mon ami!
And your family will be cared for the moment you step aboard. Sail from Florida to Disney's private island paradise and get ready for a dream come true with Disney Cruise Line.
Story, but I think a lot of people too, John, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of people don't understand that there are many facets to this game. It's not just about technology. It's not just about figuring out where they're coming from. It's not just about the military side of everything. There are real people here who would like to know. And in the end, I think that we have forgotten that there are a bunch of different stages to ufology than what the government knows and what's the tech behind these craft and whether or not there's aliens or not. Way more than that.
Way more. And honestly, like even for someone like you or me that has been, swimming in the deep end for a while, there's even more than we know, right? I mean, there are facets to this. I mean, let's face it. There have been people, grown men, right? In military positions that have threatened people's lives over this information, right? Now, whether they were doing it under orders or whether they were doing it because they believe they should, it doesn't matter. They were pushed to that point. That's pretty nutty, right? I mean, that's pretty crazy stuff, right? And so it's, and then the flip side is that, for someone like me, I mean, like, okay, I have had 2 experiences that I think are very possibly a sighting of some sort. But there wasn't enough information in the experience, or there wasn't any data captured. So I can't know for sure. Okay. So I'm in a very different ballgame than someone like you are, Dave, right? And so for a lot of people, the reason why they come into this environment is because they've seen something. Their family doesn't believe them. And they're looking for some way to come back to their family and say, look, this did happen to me. It is real. Stop calling me crazy, right? And so when they come out, they're looking for data to support their story. And so when you threaten their data and they think they found data that validates what they experienced, and you threaten their data, you're threatening them. I mean, that's how people feel. That's just human, right?
True.
And so for a lot of people, this is I don't know if it's life or death, but it's damn close. You know, it's damn close. It certainly feels that way.
Yeah, and I would just love to see a little bit more critical thinking happening. You know, I mean, whether it's with the TTSA, I mean, you and I have debated TTSA till we're blue in the face, both on the air and off the air. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? Whether it's TTSA, whether it's Elizondo, whether it's the U.S. government, whether it's the military, whether it's ufology in general. You know, I really do believe we do have to get our heads out of our asses and start looking at the bigger picture once again. This is why, you know, I mean, this is why I love Grant Cameron and the work that he does and the love of the work Nicole Sakic does. Okay, the reason why is because everybody else thinks that Grant's gone off the deep end with a lot of these subjects. And I laugh because that's not true. Okay? If you know the man and you understand the man, you will very easily be able to see that what he does is he takes a path and he follows that path as
he's being a scientist. He
Yes.
follows the data. He doesn't use his preconceived notions. He follows the data, and the data takes him to some crazy places. I've watched
Grant will never tell you what he believes. He'll tell you what his data says, and he gets ripped a new a-hole every time for that.
Yep.
All right. When he went on the complete consciousness binge a couple of years ago, everybody was like, Grant, you're nuts. You've gone off the deep end again. And look what everybody...
I was mad.
And
I was mad. I loved watching his shows. And it was like, what are you doing talking about this fluffy stuff? You know?
Yeah. Or people flying the craft. Or musicians who have been taken. You know? I mean, could you imagine if Sammy Hagar was doing the tour? Or Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins was doing the UFO tour and speaking out about this? There are so many musicians out there that are experiencers. Or even take our music guy, Ron Bumblefoot Thal. It's not UFO, but with his paranormal experience that he had on stage in Plovdiv, the Czech Republic, where he got shoved down on stage, he's never fallen during a show before. And he has a guitar that is set to never go out of tune. Okay? And his guitar kept going out of tune on the top string, and eventually he actually, during one of his solos, got shoved down on stage. And his and the Sons of Apollo keyboardist, Derek Sherinian, had his sunglasses sitting on top of his head, and he said he felt his head get whacked, and his sunglasses went flying off his head during that performance. There was a ghost there. Now, I have another person who 4 months previous to that, either 4 months previous or 4 months after, was performing at that same stage in Plovdiv, ended up going, got a little out of hand, like rock stars can, got arrested, and while he is standing in the jail, he swears on a Bible, swears on anything you want to believe, that he watched the devil come down the hallway and meet him face to face.
Really?
Yes.
Did he make a deal?
No. but it scared him.
I bet.
Scared the life out of him.
Well, let's face it. If you really thought, I mean, let's face it, I don't care what the circumstances. You could be dreaming, hallucinating, seeing it for real life, mentally deranged. If you really think that you're staring at the devil walking like in flesh and blood near you, I don't care what religion you are. That is going to get your heart rate through the roof.
Yeah. He doesn't like talking about it. He's mentioned it to me 3 times, and he has only mentioned it to me after I had talked about Bumblefoot having his experience at Plovdiv.
And see, that's the thing, is that you need people telling their stories because it makes other people feel more comfortable to do so. And that's so important. But, the one thing I will also say, David, is that I think one of the challenges is that at one point, like one of the reasons why I got out of UFO research is because for me, a long time ago, Bob Lazar was the linchpin story. And so then I got to a point where I started doubting Bob. And for me, that ended the whole thing. If Bob wasn't for real, then I didn't have anything, right? And so for me, Bob became this linchpin data point where if Bob was telling the truth, then everything else was real. And if Bob wasn't, he broke the chain, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people got into those modes with different cases, all different cases. And one of the beautiful things about where we are today is we don't have anything like that anymore, right? I mean, even the Nimitz case, right? Mm-hmm. Even if a Nimitz case gets found to be something mundane, bummer, well, move on, right? There's so many different stories now. There's so many different cases with good data that now we have this parallel thing going on where if one case goes down, it's a bummer, like especially if it's. But like I'm having this problem right now with the Kyle1, I'm pronouncing it right, the Kyle1 case, the one that Nick Pope had the poster of in his office, the triangle craft, and right. I firmly believe that I have data now that shows within 99 percentile, right, that was not a UFO and that was a U.S. craft, right? And I've talked to people that are normally very sensible people, and they just won't hear it. They will not accept that data because they become emotionally attached to that case being a real UFO. Now, it's possible it still is. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll leave 1 percentile probability out for that. But the data is really strong, and it's because people get so emotionally attached to one case. And I think that if we all realize that there's no case out there that if it falls, anything changes dramatically, right? There's so many cases now. And I think we all have to ask ourselves, okay, put yourself into an imaginary moment. If there's a case that you care about and you think to yourself, what would happen if it turned out to be false? How does that make you feel? If that actually makes you feel something inside, if that actually makes you feel something in your chest, like you actually feel personally sad or personally angry or personally whatever, you've got some thinking to do, because that means that you're associating that case with yourself, and you're taking it too personally. And it's time to take a breath and take a walk, and that's where the fights start. It's when we have those emotional attachment to cases where we can't handle that. When we hear someone insult the case, it's like they're insulting us personally.
Very true. Very true. And, I just would like to see us calm down a little bit in this field. I really would like to see us calm down a little bit, because we do need critical thinking. We do need, some people questioning things, whether it's that of experiencers, whether it's that of the government officials, whether that's of people like Elizondo or Mellon. We do need that, but the hypersensitivity that we are having right now is making things look, let me put it this way, I think it's running amok.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately, there's multiple levels of this, right?
Absolutely.
There's honest researchers that are just too attached to one case, and so I've even seen them later on post like, oh man, I'm sorry guys. I'm way too wrapped up in this one. I'm sorry the way I responded to everyone. Right. And they'll put themselves in check. Right. Then you have these other people that somehow got in their head that Twitter is a place where you can convince someone of something. Okay. Twitter cannot be used to convince anyone of anything. That's not what it's for. Right. I don't think I don't think I've ever seen it happen. I don't think I've ever seen someone go, oh my God, you're right. I was so wrong. I take that back. I've actually done that a couple of times, right? So, but it's incredibly rare, right? Because that's not what Twitter's for. Twitter is for finding your own echo chambers because you don't have one where you live, right? So it's for seeking out echo chambers for you to feel safe in, right? And it's for sharing and receiving information. But it's not for convincing. You can't debate something with someone and think that you're going to change their minds. You can debate something with someone and educate each other on each other's viewpoints if you're both mature and you're careful about it. But there's no winning. There's no one's going to go, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. That's amazing. This whole time I've been wrong. That's not what Twitter's for. But some people think it is, right? And then you also have some people that just they like some of us have the advantage. Like I started debating on the internet in the late 90s, okay, and on early platforms, right? And it used to get vicious. I mean, vicious, mean. And over the years, you learned how not to behave that way. But I mean, my pulse rate would get like so high, like debating with people and so forth, right? And the thing is that it's hard, but some people get used to that, and so they go to the internet as a place to blow off steam, right? It's like people will go to a bar to get into a fight, right? Well, they go on to Twitter to get into a fight, and so some people are just looking to push people's buttons.
Absolutely, and I want to add to that here for a second, but thank you, Guillermo, for that awesome super chat. Really do appreciate your love and support of this show, man. Thank you. Really nice seeing you back in our chat room again, too. But, to the point of UFO Twitter, I think UFO Twitter, where a lot of people got turned off of it right away, is there were a number of people out there getting into the whole UFO scene who were creating a number of different profiles. So if you brought up a question, and I know it happened to me a number of times early on in UFO Twitter when I was not supporting my listeners going to or giving my full flag waving of the the Stars Academy, where literally I was getting hammered by people. And, I'm a type of guy, dude, where I have two Twitter profiles. We have the Spaced Out Radio one for the show, and then I have my personal profile, right? But before I created my personal profile, I had no idea that you could have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I have 5, and I have a 6 that I can't remember the password to.
Yeah, like I didn't know that, and so all of a sudden, I remember I was talking to somebody from the Young Guns, may have been Danny Silva or someone else about it. And this is where I learned that there were certain people out there who...
Attend your next potluck in style with the September Gift of the Month at Pearl River Resort and Casinos. Visit Thursday through Sunday from September 2nd through September 26th to win an on-the-go bake-and-take food storage set from celebrity chef Robert Irvine. Just earn 250 base points each week to receive your gift while supplies last. Gifts include glass serving dishes, utensils, and matching carrying cases with each item. This September only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos, Pearl River Resort Properties. Must be 21.
Whether it's your birthday or your unbirthday, celebrate with a visit to your happy place. Head to Walt Disney World Resort and enjoy a magical land of Mickey pretzels.
Oh, boy!
Princesses, rebel pilots, and hurtling down Mount Everest while a Yeti chases after you. Escape to your happy place at Walt Disney World Resort.
If you bash the TTSA, they were coming at you with their 4, 5, 6, 7 different accounts and hammering you right back. right?
And they won't just do that. They'll also jump into other places. They'll go to Reddit. They'll go to a Discord. They'll go to Facebook, and they'll call people out and say, "Hey guys, right now on Twitter, there's this going on," and they post a link to it, and they invite all their friends from everywhere to come in and pile on top.
Oh yeah, and that happened to me a couple of times, and I fell for the bait. Then finally, I was just like, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this at all." You know.
Yeah, no, it's just but the thing is that there are also people that and I've had this problem myself where essentially, if someone else was able to argue a point that was counter to what I believed, that impacted how I felt about what I believed, right? And that's a really, I mean, I don't mean to insult anyone, but that's a really broken place to be, right? And I know I've been there, right? But it's hard sometimes. And so getting to a point where you can say to people, you know what, we're just going to have to agree to disagree, right? And I've had people get mad when I've suggested that, right? Like they're like, no, it's like, sorry, like, can we just move on to something else? Like, we're not going to make any progress on this point, right? Let's just agree to disagree and move on, right? And what I've discovered is that people that can accept that are the people that you want to debate with. The people that can't accept that, don't bother, because they're not looking for consensus. They're looking to crush.
Let me ask you this then. Could that have been the start of where we see now, with a number of podcasters, YouTubers, and Twitterites, if we could call them that, going out there and hammering the other side now, playing catch up to what was happening 3 years ago?
Absolutely, because this is the whole reason why it can take so long to get any kind of like civil discourse in any region of the world to really end. Because you've called a ceasefire, but how many kids do you have that lost a father? That now when they grow up, they're going to seek vengeance. So there's always this tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, And so I guarantee you that there were a ton of people that were just seething and just waiting for some piece of evidence to come out so they could come out and pounce on people, And what's really amazing is that, I think what part of the challenge is that I think a lot of people have gotten really good at being passive aggressive in language. And I even know people that do it, and to be honest with you, I'm not totally convinced at this point they're even aware that they're doing it. There's one person in particular who's very well known, and like in person, he's a very nice person to debate. On Twitter, wow. I mean, this guy gets so passive aggressive so fast, and then when you call him on it, he's like, "What? I wasn't doing that," And you're like, "Really? Like, here, copy and paste. That's not what I meant." Like, really? It's a mind-boggling thing, and it's very hard not to take that stuff personally, right?
I watched Michael Huntington, who's a good friend of this show. He's been a former guest, very eloquent speaker on the topics. Okay, very smart, intelligent guy. And I watched him the other day absolutely get hammered on by a number of the UFO Twitter people, just because he felt that he wanted Elizondo and others to answer some pertinent questions that need to be asked. And the demigod of Elizondo's followers went haywire on him.
Well, because Lou can't defend himself? I mean,
well, I mean, but that's it was about Lou. It was about the Wilson documents. It was about a little bit of everything. And here they were calling out Michael for being an a-hole on Twitter and not falling into line and all of this kind of crap. And we need to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with questions. Look, there's a difference between if you're dealing with an experiencer, like people will say, well, Dave, you give quite a few softball questions to your experiencer type people because we're storytellers. We are here to tell stories of people. That is our focus. That is what our audience wants, and that's what we give them. Our audience wants the stories, right? They want a lot of different types of mediums that they can hear of personal experiences. And that's what we try and do. Sure, we mix it in with researchers, excuse me, and other people who are there. But for the most part, our biggest nights on this show is when we have some really good storytellers. And that's what we want to continue to do. Thank you, Chad Smith, for that awesome super chat, man. Great work in the chat room tonight, Chad. Really do appreciate that, man. Slant, it's because he was being kind of disrespectful. See, I didn't, and without getting into debate, and I brought this comment up, I'm not saying that, are you talking Michael or are you talking other people? Fill me in here, dude, because I want to explain my point, if you don't mind, because I didn't see Michael. Michael has a sense of sarcasm to him and a sense of wit, but I didn't read his comments as being very disrespectful at all. I really didn't, and maybe I read it wrong. I mean, that's another problem with the internet and Twitter and everything. We all will disseminate the message on how we disseminate it. Yep. I put out tweets out there that have been very sarcastic, which I'm killing myself laughing for. And other people are like, you're an idiot. You're a moron.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. And that's the thing is that, eventually you learn that, you got to make sure that, that, I don't know, like a lot of times I'll write tweets and I delete them. Because after writing them and I look at them, I realize that I'm not doing this to entertain anyone else. I'm not saying this to educate anyone else. I'm doing this to entertain myself, and that's just not needed, And so I'll delete it, And it's hard sometimes because this would be fun to post this, And I think too, I think there's a challenge because I think a lot of people want to ask questions where they think they know the answer. They're just trying to force someone to admit something. And I think those type of questions tend to tip people off. And then I think that the challenge is that, everyone gets into vulnerable periods. And, like a perfect example was PJ Hughes, right?
Yeah.
Because PJ was normally like this really mellow guy, but every once in a while he would come on. I don't know if he was tired or what was going on, but then people would start attacking not him, but they'd start attacking some of the other guys, right? And that would piss him off, right? And it was his emotional reaction to that would then get him to say something that he shouldn't be saying, right? And so he would get goaded into it, and it wasn't even for himself. If you attacked him, he was fine with it. But when you attacked his buddies, then he was like, then he'd get emotional about it. And he'd get goaded into saying things. And it sucked because he was doing it for the right reasons, right? He was standing up for a friend. But the instant you start taking anything personally, the instant you have an emotional reaction to any of it, it's time to walk away. Your pulse rate should not change while you're on Twitter. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Your pulse rate should not change. Twitter is also a great place that if you want to feel, if you want to explode, you could explode on Twitter. Which is so weird to me because, I don't get that. That part I don't get because in the world I grew up in, like everything you put on the internet is recorded forever. So you don't want to say anything. I don't care if you're trying to be funny. You don't want to say anything that you're not ready to have skywritten over your town, right? And put on the front page of the New York Times, right? You don't say anything that you don't expect that to happen to, right? And these people that think that they can just just let loose on the internet, it terrifies me. I mean, it's like, and people lose jobs over that stuff. I mean, it's like, people, I mean, it's It's scary, right? That data never goes away, ever, 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 ever. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I've done searches and pulled up like debates I've had where I got really snarky with people from 1996, pulling up on Google search, right? From 1996, right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh man, but you're right. People do. They feel they can, and and a lot of times though that's why they have multiple Twitter handles, right? Is they have one Twitter handle that they play safe on, and they have another one that's their drunken raging Twitter handle, right? That they only use at 2:00 in the morning after coming home from the bar.
You know what? You mentioned that right. I have a friend of mine who, his name's Jamie, who is very involved in the music industry, or used to be at least, and he is someone who's very outspoken on social media. And hi, Luscious Jules, thanks for joining us. He's very outspoken on social media and been banned on Twitter, been banned on Facebook, had profiles removed. He's had to rebuild them. It's kind of funny to watch, actually. But he knows a lot of rock stars who've been in the business a long time. And he was telling me that, the majority of musicians, athletes, and politicians, as well as actors and actresses, a lot of them have to toe the company line if they want to work. So, for instance, the music industry and the Hollywood industry, the film industry and television industry is very, very woke right now. Very woke. And a lot of these people who are in there are not that way of thinking. But publicly, they have to be saying what they can, because whether or not the person is worth $30 million or $100 million, or they're new to the industry, they have to watch what they are saying, because they could be canceled at any time or have their contracts terminated, or their record deals cut, or whatever it may be. I mean, that stuff is real.
But I don't understand why anyone ever felt safe doing that. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. Like, why did anyone ever think? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I guess people thought that anonymity existed. Anonymity does not exist. It does not exist. It doesn't even exist in the dark net, right? It doesn't even exist there. Like, they can find you by the cadence of your keyboard strikes. Okay? There is no anonymity. It does not exist. But when people think they have it, they tend to behave badly. And I think that's the problem. It's kind of like it's funny, like there's a Christian phrase about like not being able to thread the I forget how it goes, but it's talking about how a rich man is going to have more trouble getting into heaven than a poor man, or something like that. And a lot of people don't get the meaning behind that. It's that when you're wealthy, it's harder to behave good, because you don't have to, right? You can speed, you can do a lot of stuff, you can get away with a lot of stuff because you got money. And forcing yourself not to do those things just because they're the wrong things to do, and not because you won't get caught anymore, it's hard. It is hard. Right? Let me just tell you, it's hard, right? And so a lot of people, I think they just, when they think they have anonymity, they think they can behave badly. And the thing is that just because you didn't get caught doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Right? Just because you don't think anyone's going to find you doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you think no one else was going to be in that chat room watching it doesn't mean that you can go off on some racist rant, just because you had a bad day. Everything you write, every single packet that's ever come out of any device you've ever been on has been copied by at least 5 different countries. Minimum. Minimum. Right? I mean, and so it's hard, because I agree with you. I think that this whole witch hunt that's been going on in some cases, where it happened with the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. It happened with this guy on the TV show Flash, where like someone pulled up, and it's hard because I think if someone gets caught doing something now, right? They get trouble doing something now. And in the course of investigating that, you find that they repeated that type of behavior in the past. Then it makes sense to bring that stuff up and say, look, there's a pattern here. But when you find someone that hasn't, stepped out of line in 5 or 10 years, and someone digs up something from 10 years ago, going after them, I mean, that's pretty nasty business. But at the same time, why did they think they should, why did they do it? Why, who told them it was a good idea to do that on the internet? I mean, if you want to do that, yell it in your backyard, right? Don't put it online. I mean, it's like writing. I just don't get it. I don't understand. I think it's just the world I grew up in, I mean,
me too, dude.
But the internet is not, there's no anonymity. None. Absolutely none. Don't even think that don't think VPNs. Oh my gosh. Don't trust VPNs. Don't trust VPNs. Wi-Fi, all the Wi-Fi encryption was broken years ago. Years and years and years and years and years ago. That stuff's not it doesn't work anymore. There's new stuff that just worked for a little while, but all this stuff only works for a year or two. So don't type or say anything on the internet that you wouldn't feel safe having put on the cover of the New York Times. And that's just the basic rule. And it sucks because I guess a lot of people just weren't ever told that. But and so I don't like the witch hunts, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, why did you do that? What were you thinking? It just blows my mind. It's hard both ways, because the thing is that anyone walking around on eggshells, being constantly worried that you're going to say one wrong thing that's going to get you in trouble. That's a horrible way to live. That is a horrible way to live.
But
I mean, that is no fun at all.
Ufology, though, has always been its own worst enemy. Okay? Whether it's the same, like I said to UFO Jane earlier, with the documentaries, for the longest time, you could go on Netflix or Amazon right now, pull up a bunch of old documentaries, you will see the same faces on each one. Or on almost each one.
Over
and over again. Stanton Friedman, Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, Jim Mars, and Steve Bassett. I mean, nothing against those people. If you're called, you're going to do it. That's your livelihood. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with them doing it, but it was the same message, same show, different name title of the show, and it was all the same. And, you look at it today, the way it's growing and enhanced, and we have more than ever a brilliant crew of young and new ufologists who are going out there. There's a plus and a minus to that. The plus is we're getting a lot of new thought, a lot of new ideas, a lot of internet-savvy researchers who are hammering home the points that should have been hammered home a long time ago. But the other thing is, and I was talking with, oh my goodness, who was I just talking with the other night, yesterday about this? May have been Bob McGuire or even Nicole Sakic. We don't have boots to the ground researchers coming up. Now, somebody who holds their camera up in the sky looking for UFOs, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about researchers who are going to get dirty, build their sources, and try and find out what is going on. There's no Dolan Jr. out there. There's no Jim Mars Jr. There's no Stanton Friedman or Grant Cameron Jr. coming along the path. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what's kind of interesting about that is that I think part of it is that I think perceptions have changed a little bit, because for me, I don't know. I don't actually see a tremendous amount of value at this point in building up a bunch of sources, because they're all humans. And
from a journalistic level, I will disagree with that.
Oh no, I get that, but but the thing is that what my experience has been in the past is that data, like where I find those people useful is when I find data and I want to get another opinion on it, right? But as far as actually using them as a source of information, they're humans, and so like their data is only so valuable, especially if they won't go on the record to say it and they can't offer me any proof of it. So I would almost rather rely on documents and data than people for research anyway, right? And so, and I might be wrong, but I think that I think there's a lot of people from kind of my generation that feel that way, and so part of it is that I'm not sure that there's a lot of people that want to become the kind of researcher you're talking about.
Well, Britt makes a good point in the chat. She says that's literally because the younger generation who are trying to do that are being told to shut up. And
well, sure.
And this goes back to my blog where, remember, I gave the three sections of ufology. You have the older guard here, you have UFO Twitter here, and then in the middle you have people like me who are flapping around in the wings. Not really part of the old guard, not really part of the young guns, okay? And we're trying to do our best to get that out, right? But, I mean, this is a field, though, that is completely anarchic right now. You know, I mean, you can be anybody who you want to be just by typing it on your profile on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. You can, you know, you can slam anybody you want because there's zero repercussion. There's no rule book. There's no governing body outside of the social media accounts. If you don't get a conference, screw it. Who cares anyways? You know what I'm saying? Then you got the popularity binge coming, right? People who do and say anything for popularity. You have the people out there who are just trying to do an honest day's work. You have people out there, you know, who are trying to build their own careers off of this. You have people who don't care about careers, who just want to have fun talking UFOs because it's a fun subject. It's a beautiful mix mash of everything.
The one thing I will point out is I think some of the reason why these problems exist is because there's so many people in this community that actually aren't terribly good researchers, right? That they for whatever reason, they never developed a skill in research. And so like for example, like anyone posting that they have some kind of background, like it's so easy. It is so bloody easy to background check people, right? It is so easy. It's ridiculous how easy it is. And so anyone claiming anything, like you spend an hour, maybe two, and you're going to know whether they were telling the truth or not. But no one looks. Like no one, I don't know why, but no one looks. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I mean, I look at Justin's comment here. I think John has done an outstanding job researching Brit as well. Project Unity J, all their theories aren't right, but they're collecting data and get it out. There's only one name I wouldn't agree with on there, and I will say that person absolutely lambasted me on social media because I threw a copyright strike at him on YouTube for using part of my show without my permission. And when his channel is monetized, I called him on it. And I'll tell you, the phone calls and the messages that I had from people in UFO land for dragging my name through the mud for protecting my business was incredible. I'm not going to say who contacted me, okay, but it was a number of people who completely said that I was in the wrong about striking this guy on YouTube for using my product on his financially monetized channel.
But you know what's so sad about that one, Dave, is that, you know, like almost everyone in that situation had some point of value, right? Except for maybe the what instigated the whole thing, right? Like, I mean, you were right to defend your intellectual property, right? Especially because you have investors, right? At the same time, like, while they may not have should have done it with passion, I was honestly kind of touched that many people came out in defense of him, right?
Yeah.
Now maybe they should, but I mean, that was kind of nice, right? Like it was kind of nice that they were saying, hey, he should be given a second chance, right? Now, and the thing I guess, but the reason why I think it's sad is that to me, like that could have ended differently, right? Like when all that finally broke out, right? It just makes me sad that like he didn't reach out to you and say, hey, I'm really sorry, and you weren't able to say,
No,
oh,
he did.
Okay,
he did, and I will be honest with you, I actually contacted YouTube about removing the strike. I did, okay, because he apologized to me, and yet after he did that, he was still throwing my name through mud that I was an a-hole and that I hurt his feelings. Well, hold on a second here. We're a business. SOR, everything that we do here is business oriented. John, you see a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of moving parts in order to make this show happen. Okay, and thank God we got the team that we do right now, because they are amazing.
I'm super sorry that it continued, and now I understand better, like, your position. But I got to say, I'm really pleased to hear that he did reach out and apologize, and I'm pleased to hear that you did reach out and try to get it like that, because that's how it should have gone, right? Like, but it's a shame that it didn't end there.
I don't care if anybody uses my footage. I really don't care. But ask me.
Yeah, I know.
But here's the other thing too. If your channel is monetized and you are using my product to monetize your channel, we got an issue.
Yeah.
We got an issue because my product does not pay you.
Yep. I know. And it would have been so easy to ask. It would have been so easy to ask. It definitely would have. It definitely would have. And the thing is that there is this, I really think, like, it's kind of like, when you're in a company and the company is not doing well, okay, it's a very dangerous time, because people start coming out against each other, right?
Absolutely.
And you start getting like a lot more vengeful type behavior. And when a company is doing really, really well, it still happens a little bit, but it happens a lot less. And I think part of what we're seeing here is that the state of the whole thing, and it's all based on your perception, because see, from my point of view, I think this whole disclosure thing is going fantastic. I'm having a blast, right? I'm really having a good time, right? I really am. But for all the other people, like, I have a couple friends, like close friends, and they're mad. Like, they're mad. Like, they get really pissed off about things. And I'm like, what take a breath, man. This is like, this is fantastic. Think about what's going on. But I think because it's not going the way everyone likes, everyone's mad. And so this causes clicks. This causes hurt feelings. This causes people to lash out. But the thing is that it's been this way to a degree for a while. I mean, I remember commenting when I'd only been in this for about a year. I remember I posted somewhere and I said this community is by far the most well-read of any community I've ever gotten involved in. I mean, by leaps and bounds, and at the same time, the most cannibalistic. And I wrote that back in like 2016 or something, 2017. Like, I wrote it to a friend of mine. I was blown away. I could not believe how cannibalistic this group was. And I think it's because it's no one's ever happy with how it's going, and when people are mad, they tend to look for blame. They tend to look for scapegoats. And there's so, like, I it really bugs me that all the people that are doing YouTube shows for on this topic aren't just completely supporting each other.
Attend your next potluck in style with the September Gift of the Month at Pearl River Resort and Casinos. Visit Thursday through Sunday from September 2nd through September 26th to win an on-the-go bake-and-take food storage set from celebrity chef Robert Irvine. Just earn 250 base points each week to receive your gift while supplies last. Gifts include glass serving dishes, utensils, and matching carrying cases with each item. This September only at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos, Pearl River Resort Properties. Must be 21.
Whether it's your birthday or your unbirthday, celebrate with a visit to your happy place. Head to Walt Disney World Resort and enjoy a magical land of Mickey pretzels.
Oh, boy!
Princesses, rebel pilots, and hurtling down Mount Everest while a Yeti chases after you. Escape to your happy place at Walt Disney World Resort.
It's so insane.
That's changing.
There aren't that many of you,
That's
right? I
changing
mean, it's
with-
like, you know.
That's changing with a few of us, though, and I got to get going. Well, I'll give it another half hour till the bottom of the hour because that's normally
Oh,
what
it's
I
right.
do.
It's midnight. Yeah, sorry, bud.
But that attitude is changing, though. You know, like,
Good.
for instance, I was talking to Ben from UFO Garage about this recently, and we are actually talking about setting up a conglomerate-type website where we have transitions into other shows. It's not a network, but it's people who are working hard, having fun, enjoying the topic, not stirring up the shit, not calling people out, not, showing arrogance on the air. It doesn't matter what the topic is, but we're going to put people together where we can set people up for another. So, for instance, like earlier on Saturday, for instance, Big Willie started his brand new show on UFO Garage Saturday. And through that time, through the show, without even asking him, he was like, hey guys, don't forget right after this to go over to SOR's channel and listen to Lynn Wallington tonight on Spaced Out Saturday. And we didn't ask him to do that. He did it out of his own heart. You know, now whether Ben had said, hey man, like give a shout out to SOR or whatever, that's one thing. But the fact that it was done, we didn't expect that. You know, this is why we sit there and we push people towards, hey, third phase of Moon, thank you so much. You know?
Nice, guys.
Yeah, that's really nice, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love
that's
those.
huge, Dave, man. If you guys can do that,
and
that would be.
And that's what we want to do. All right, is bring these people together to say, okay, we have a show coming up at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And by the way, after our show is done, we want all of our listeners to go on over to SOR. That's how we're going to grow our channels.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that's where the public, like our chat room, are going to be able to say, well, hold on, we trust Dave. We trust what he says and the people that he talks to. Who is Dave listening to? Who is Dave supporting? And they're going to go in there into that channel now, and they're going to hit subscribe. And we're all going to grow together. And the
great thing there is that people see people getting rewarded for being confrontational by the number of views they get. But what they don't see is people getting rewarded for playing nice. And this is a way to show a way for the people who are playing it straight to get rewarded, right? You're seeing there's going to be a real benefit to playing it fair, because there's going to be a tribe of good folks.
Absolutely.
You know?
Like, look,
I shouldn't say good. I'm not saying the other people are bad, but you know what I mean. Like well-meaning.
I'm going to bring this up not just because they're here, but you look at the third phase of Moon guys. Okay, the Cousins brothers have worked their asses off for a number of years to build that channel into what I think is the biggest UFO channel, because I don't recognize the other one. Okay, especially when you're on charges for assaulting your wife.
Right.
I don't recognize that. That means nothing.
Yep.
So to me, third phase has the biggest channel in ufology out there. Okay, and they get picked on, they get beat up, but you know what? They keep going, man. They keep going, and their numbers keep going up.
They're so cool about it, right? I mean, they're one of the only shows around where, you know, like there's actually, I mean, I'll be real honest, you know, like there are things that could be put on the show that I struggle with, right?
Well,
but they're not arrogant about it,
and
they're not mean about it, and they're really kind about it, and so I don't care, right? Like, it's a good show, you know.
I have had probably 30 different people of well-known names in ufology saying to me, why do you like those guys from Third Phase? You know what they've done for me? They've been there when I've had YouTube questions. They've offered to help, not asking me for a dime. They've given me good ideas that have helped grow this channel and that we have implemented and are from the time and I remember them. It was Blake telling me this. Blake said, when we hit 10,000 subscribers, he goes, Dave, you're going to take off now. Because the first 10,000 are the hardest to get. All right? And he goes, then you're going to take off. It may not be 1,000 to 2,000 or 10,000 subscribers a month, but you're going to see incremental increases that you didn't see before. And like, for instance, I never made up, you know, catchy headlines for a show. They were the ones who told me to put a catchy headline up for the show because it gets people's eyes going. It feeds into the YouTube algorithms. And so when people search live shows, they could potentially check us out. Right? Yep. And that's all because
but you know,
them.
They're such a great example of why it's so often it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it.
Absolutely.
And those guys do it. They do it with.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say quickly, thank you, is, you know, like I said about those 30 people in ufology who came up to me and say, geez, do you really want to attach your names? Those guys done this, they've done that. And I've said to each and every one of those people, point blank, I said, you know what? They have never done anything ill towards Spaced Out Radio. Ever. Why? In fact, all they've done is try to help our channel grow and other channels out there grow. Why am I going to shit on them when they've treated me with a lot of respect, which I never asked for? I never went up to them and said, hey guys, can you give me a hand? They offered it, right?
Yep.
They offered it. And to me, that says a lot about the people that they are. And you know what? I reached out. Look, I don't hit them up for a lot, but you know what? I know their phone number. And if I have a question about our YouTube channel or whatever, I know I can call them. Call them. And so, hey, you know what? I don't give a shit who likes who or who doesn't like who or whatever. All right? They've treated me well. And I'm not...
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not shitting on them just because it may be the popular thing to do amongst ufologists. I don't care. Right? They've helped my channel grow. And in the end, if my channel doesn't grow, if SOR doesn't grow, I don't have the team that's with me right now. I'm still struggling, having to pay back my investor in the company. All right? And I'm doing all of this. Yep. This is what I love here. The truth. Dave's a sellout. No, I'm not a sellout.
But but the thing is it's not just it's also about consistency, right? And like, like I remember some number of months, it was a while ago, and I went on to their channel, and they showed some video, and I was really struggling with it, and so I posted in the YouTube chat, right? And they were really polite about it. Right. I mean, like they were confident. Right. I mean, no problem there. But they took my feedback. They responded with what they thought. I mean, it was a fine exchange, right? Like, I mean, there are some very well known, very popular channels that if you do that, they'll block you. They'll just block you, right? I mean, it's amazing. So that kind of behavior that you see, the way they treat you, that's consistent through the rest of the way they do things, right? And that speaks volumes, right?
Absolutely. And that's the exact same thing that we have done with UFO Garage, with other people in this field. And you know what? Hey, to some of these channels, like I look at a channel like Third Face, they're a big dog to me, the big dog. Okay, I would love to have that many subscribers. I really would. But to other channels like UFO Garage, okay, with us having, 11,000 subscribers more than them, we're kind of the big dog to them, and we're helping them. I'm helping my buddy Merle redo his channel right now. And all the advice that I'm giving him is exactly what Third Phase of Moon and other people have given to me. Right? It's not selling out. It's about building a channel, because for a lot of people, for some people out there like us, this is a business. Every day I have to put out a broadcast for our radio stations.
But the thing is, this is one of those beautiful parts of running a business where this aspect doesn't have to be about business, but it benefits the business so much because it's not just about building a channel. It's about building a tribe, right?
Absolutely.
It's about building a group of like-minded people who do business the way you like to do business, who interact with people the way you like to interact with people, and they're supportive and they have, at least somewhat similar, views to you, right? And you become this supportive tribe. And for those of you in that tribe that are running businesses, there's huge benefit to doing that, right? But the cool thing is that the reason why you're doing it isn't purely about business. It's also because it makes running the business more fun, right? And it's also about paying back and paying forward, right? I mean, there's so many aspects of it that feel good.
Absolutely, John. If our listeners and our public truly knew who the good people and the bad people were in ufology, they would be shocked. But they'll never hear it from us, okay? Because it's not our place, all right? And, but they wouldn't support them. Like I was just mentioning about one person earlier who stole copyright product from our channel. That person, if his crew knew, or the majority of his casual listeners knew that he did that, they probably wouldn't support it because it's theft, right? And it's all over his channel. I mean, if our listeners truly knew, this is why I would sooner go along the lines of saying, this is who we support. This is who we recommend you check out. This is who This is who I am listening to before the show or after the show or when I'm off air. This is who I'm tuned in.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And you never no one ever changes by being told they're doing something wrong. And I know everyone hates this, and I know it's a long road, but the truth of life is that if you want to change anything, you walk the walk. You talk the talk, and you do it yourself, and you wait for people to come to you and ask, "Hey, how do you do that?" Right? Why are things going like? How's that going for you? Right? Like, can you teach me? And it takes a lot longer. It's a much slower process, but that's how it works, and that's the only way it works. Right? It doesn't actually work any other way, right? And so you do this the right way, you play it the right way, you like you said, you point out the good stuff. You don't have to call it the bad stuff. Exactly. You just point out the good stuff, right? And you just point out the good stuff, and more good stuff shows up.
Yeah, I mean,
and it all just filters.
I mean, as you and I have talked about before on this show, we know people in this field who are fake scientists. We know people in this field who are fake journalists. We know people in this field who are fake experiencers. Okay, we know people in this field who are and these
all three.
Pardon me?
I said all three.
Absolutely. But I mean, the fact is, these are people who are getting television appearances or placement in other people's books as a reputable source, or getting television shows or conference appearances. You know, I know one guy who's a fake journalist who literally in 2019 spoke at 9 different conferences because they all believed he was a journalist. Guy's never worked a day in journalism. He's never worked a day in journalism and had never done anything more than a blog. Right?
Oh, I know. And you know, and the thing is that it's hard sometimes. Like, I mean, like there was one person I had a challenge with, and you know, it was really hard not to write to the shows. It was really hard not to say anything, you know, not to call it out, right? Because it bugged me, right? But I realized that the reason why it bugged me that much was because I was letting my own ego get involved, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you know, it's not my job to tell, you know, if that show wants to not vet their guests well enough and bring people like that on, I'm really sorry, but you know what? You reap what you sow, and it's going to happen. And I just have to trust that eventually, you know, that person's going to, you know, peter out, or they're going to have some kind of rude awakening and they're going to change. They're going to get better. Mm-hmm. And that also happens, right? But you can't go around telling people or pointing out, you know, what people are doing wrong. Like, nope, that never works, ever.
No,
ever.
Hey, dude, I fully agree with you. So, you know, maybe it is a little bit, you know, Ben and I have to talk about this a little bit more and getting everything kind of organized for it, and whether or not it is worth pursuing. I think it is, you know, because you build as a team, you run as a team, you know, but I mean, you got to control the you know, there's got to be rules and regulations you have to kind of follow by with that too, right?
It would be so beautiful to have a place to go where you would have a constant stream, where it would just stream from show to show to show to show. It'd be like having a 24-hour TV network, right? And basically, no matter what hours you worked, no matter what country you were in, no matter where you were traveling, you knew that you could always go to this one place. And one of these shows that you know have a similar kind of, you know, way of walking and talking, you know, some good content's going to be on there. That would be fun.
It
man.
would be
that
great.
Would be so cool.
It would be fantastic. And a lot of people are doing that with Roku channels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of people are doing that with Roku channels, or starting to, at least. You know, the problem is getting everybody to work on that timeline, because the timeline is most important. So, for instance, like if there was a show before mine that was on, say, 7 to 9, but creeped into that 9:30 Pacific time, that's not, that 9:30, 10 o'clock, that's not good for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you'd have to almost intentionally not run anything live. Everything would be delayed.
Yeah,
and then you could have an algorithm that would then sort the content based on actual length and shuffle things based on when the machine gets it, when those feeds arrive.
The other issue with that, though, is, say, a channel like ours, which is monetized. If you're watching our show on a different YouTube channel, you don't get the monetization.
No, totally, and that's why I say it almost needs to be content that's reached a certain age, you know, content that's, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what is appropriate, whether it's 2 weeks or a month or whatever, like, but something that, something that's, you know, because I mean, especially for all the people that are coming into this new. There's a lot of good shows that used to be on that you know, you've done, that other people have done, that really impacted me, you know, like really impacted me, that they're never going to see unless someone shoves it in their faces, you know? So it's like, I don't know, you could do some cool stuff with that. I think I mean, you're right. It's not going to, I mean, look, nothing worth doing is easy, right?
Oh,
Let's just face it,
absolutely.
right? So, but Dave, with all your free time, you should be able to whack this out, no problem.
Yeah. Because I'm just low. You know what my day is like tomorrow?
I can only imagine.
So let me give you my day today. My day, my alarm went off at 7 o'clock. Okay. And I had one of those mornings where I woke up at 6:30, and you got to pee really bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I look and I'm like, God, like I couldn't just have my extra half an hour, and and so that was kind of a pain in the butt. So I get my little guy for school. We start walking to the bus stop at about 7:51. His bus usually it takes us about 3 minutes to walk to the bus stop, and so not far. By the time we were 2/3 of the way, we saw his bus pulling away. His bus was 5 minutes early, which it's never 5 minutes early.
That's just criminal.
Okay, so then I had to drive him to school. I come back, get myself in the shower. I'm at work for 9 o'clock. Okay, I got home at about 5:30 this afternoon. Quickly ate dinner. Okay, I think I had about 9 minutes to relax. No, a little bit longer. That's probably about 15 to 20 minutes to relax. Then I had to take my son to guitar lessons. Okay, for 6:45. And then I got to pick him up from guitar, right? Which he had an awesome guitar lesson today. And it was really cool watching him today. And then, I come home and I got to go straight, his guitar lesson's supposed to end at 7 or 7:25, 7:30, but his teacher's really cool. So class usually, and it's one-on-one instruction. So it usually doesn't end until like 7:40 or so.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I got to race home.
Yeah, that sucks. You don't want to pull them away from that. That's free. That's time and money
absolutely.
that guy's giving them, right? But at the same time, you're like, I got to eat,
Absolutely, because I got to set up the show, right? Excuse me. And so, here I am, still going. So tomorrow morning, I get to sleep in a little bit more. I'll get up probably around 7:25, 7:30. And then have some breakfast, and I'll take my son to the bus stop, and then I'll come back home, get ready for work, and be at work until 5 o'clock. Then I got to drive, excuse me. Then I got to drive down to the hockey rink, because tomorrow's the first day of hockey for my son, so I'll be at the rink he's on the ice from 5:30 to 6:30. And
I'm the only parent that encourages their kid not to do any sports whatsoever.
So I'll be at the rink from 5:30 to 6:30. By the time we get home, it'll be, he gets off the rink and we get his gear off and, and all that kind of stuff. We're looking at probably 6:55, 7 o'clock. Now I got to eat dinner because I haven't eaten dinner yet. And at 7:30, I'll be in the studio prepping for the show.
And you wonder why you're not having any experiences these days.
Yeah.
They're all sitting on hold. They're like, oh, no, we tried to reach Dave, but Dave's busy.
Oh, yeah.
Dave's not here.
The aliens call and they completely it goes straight to voicemail. Right.
But Dave, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the horrible thing that we do to ourselves, where we set up lives like that, and we think, but this weekend I'll relax, or this weekend I can go out with my buddies and get drunk, or this weekend I can go do this. And the problem is that this is your life, right? Like waking up, brushing your teeth, getting your kid ready. This is actually your life. So you got to enjoy it. Right?
Well,
you got to figure out some way to actually love as much of it as you can't love all of it, But you got to learn how to love as much of it as you can, because you can't suffer to success, right? It doesn't work.
No,
you end up
but
suffering
you know
all the
what
time.
though? The good part about it is this is still fun.
Yeah.
Okay, coming into the studio every single day, dude, this is fun. There are days I struggle.
Sure.
Okay, but the minute that we go live, I'm pumped up for it, dude.
Well, and you could hear it in your voice, like your kids' guitar lessons. Like there's enjoyment in that, right?
Absolutely.
The aspects of the hockey thing, there's enjoying in that. I'm sure your job drills on at times, but you got a really cool boss, right? So there's things about you find your bliss, but you gotta find your bliss, right?
I want to get to Nicholas' comment here.
Yeah,
because we only got about 7 minutes here. Nicholas says, I really don't understand the backstabbing and the lying in this field. It's bad enough that the government lies to us. We have to worry about ufologists lying. We should be working together. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because Nicola is 100% right. The problem is there's a lot of people out there who are trying to figure out a way how to make a living out of this, and they will do anything possible in order to get their name, their brand out there. And, whether it's writing a book, whether it's podcasting, whether it's YouTube channels, whether it's, faking your resume and lying about your credentials. This is why, guys, you will not see certain people on this show, right? If they're lying about their resume, they will never be on this show.
Well, and part of what sets people up for this is when people have spikes of success. Like they'll have one thing happen and they'll get a huge reaction to that, and then they want that to continue. There's been a couple people who, like, their second or third interview, they've landed these amazing interviews and they've gotten these incredible numbers. And every time it's happened, I've been like, oh boy, I'm really sorry that happened, because now what's going to happen, right? Because you can't keep that up, right? And so it forces people to do things they wouldn't normally do because they want to maintain it. It's hard. Ultimately, part of what we have to do is at some level, if we really want this community to come together, we have to at some level find a way to accept everyone, and just accept that everyone's got a reason for doing what they're doing.
I'm gonna fire one over the bow here, Stu Gerson. Some people do it to themselves. That's all I'm gonna say about what you typed. Some people do it to themselves. And that is one who has done it to himself. There's not a lot of respect in the UFO community for this person at all.
And you know what? Like that that's an interesting example of just a level of negativity, or a level of unhappiness that was apparent, that then colored the content. Some people are just, they're mad or they're whatever. And, this is, people want to hear from people who are enjoying themselves, right? It's like, grumpy people don't long term, they don't do well, it's just not fun,
Dude, I hear you, man. I hear it every day.
Yeah. And if you're grumpy, you're not enjoying it. So stop, right? It's like, obviously if you're grumpy, you're not liking it. So, go do something fun,
true,
right?
Dude.
Why put yourself through it if you don't like it?
Hey,
can you imagine doing what you do, Dave, if you hated it? Oh my God.
Dude, I hear you.
Oh, you'd be the grumpiest some bitch.
Right? Why not?
Oh man. All right, Maddie. Well, hey, man. Hey, this has actually been a really good conversation. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm happy with it too. We're gonna start wrapping things up. I want to say a big thank you to Third Phase of Moon, Chad Smith, Guillermo, Aussie Steve, Super YJ, Andrew and Apollo for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to all the veterans tuning us in. We love you. You always have a good home here with us on Spaced Out Radio. And thank you to all our regulars who are sitting through. I apologize about the technical errors earlier on in the show. But
3 cheers for Jane.
What's it?
Carrying on through. That was good.
Yeah, you got UFO Jane, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more coming up here. But thank you to everybody for tuning us in. Don't forget, if you aren't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Leave us a comment below also on what you thought of the show tonight. One thing, I love reading those comments and even responding to them. So please let us know what you think when it hits the time. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. And if you go to facebook.com/groups/Spaced Out Radio, you could join the committee and the community in there as well. We're going to say goodnight. So thank you for a great night, and see you later.
Life can be overwhelming, but help is here. Gulfport Behavioral Health System is your treatment provider for mental and behavioral health issues. For nearly 40 years, we've helped adults, adolescents, and children as young as 4 find the coping skills to get back on track. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hope starts here. Visit gulfportbehavioral.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
Life gets a lot more magical when you dream. So let's dream of a vacation unlike any other. A magical Disney cruise.
Hiya, pal!
Where new stories meet tales as old as time.
Enchanté, mon ami!
And your family will be cared for the moment you step aboard. Sail from Florida to Disney's private island paradise and get ready for a dream come true with Disney Cruise Line.